What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to give you guys a very quick update on Tesla and the markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, and don't forget to check out my Moomoo link. Anyways, as far as Tesla goes, we have this green bar that has formed as Tesla's trying to rebound, but just know there's going to be a big test coming as Tesla has been making lower highs, right? We had a high up here, we came down, made a lower high, came down. We could be making another lower high before we come back down, possibly. So I'll be watching for a big test later on today. Just know that Tesla announced the 500 kilowatt charging as it's delivering its new supercharger cabinets, which is very big news. It's supporting 400 to 1000 volts of charging architectures. That includes 30% faster charging for the Cybertruck, not to mention 200 kilowatts charge rates for their other models. So very good news, at least on that end, which is part of why Tesla's trying to rebound. This is very interesting. There was a lot of talk involving the change to EV tax credits. Just know that for the short term, yes, I do think that these shifts will affect Tesla, as Tesla is very dependent on their sales. However, for the long term with AI and other factors like that, and this is what this article is kind of going on about, basically, we could be looking for the new administration to accelerate some FSD and autonomous initiatives for Tesla. So it kind of like is an offset. It's a trade off, and I think that for the long term, Tesla will be completely fine, especially as we have these other catalysts. But for the short term, don't necessarily kind of like don't let this kind of cross your mind without seeing the reality of the situation, which is that this will still affect Tesla a little negatively, the whole shift in the tax incentives, just to for the time being, right? Just for the time being. Anyways, for more factors, we have about 900,000 of these calls expiring, and we have basically a 3.3 million of these puts expiring. That's a 3.7 put to call ratio at 580 being max pain. In terms of our economic data, before the market opens, we have some manufacturing numbers coming out. So look for some volatility then. We'll see what happens with the manufacturing production numbers. We'll see how that goes. It comes out in about 10 minutes. Then we also had Alibaba announcing its earnings. They missed on revenue estimates, but their guidance was pretty good overall. So I'm not going to go over the full details for this. The share price is very flat, so there's nothing too crazy. We had about $32.72 billion in revenue, not too bad. That's when you translate everything to USD. And then besides that, we saw a nice increase in their guidance, but I would say for the most part, things are kind of flat. Revenue came a little short, but besides that, everything is just so. That's why the share price is flat with mixed earnings. Besides that, we had Jerome Powell, who caused the market to dip a bit. We'll have to see how the market responds to this. And besides that, I'm not seeing anything else that's too crazy. Also, guys, Amazon's announcing that Prime members will be able to get fixed pricing for treatment of conditions. That's something very interesting. They're now trying to expand that into the health industry. Anyways, let me spend like a couple of minutes to go over these charts. So Tesla's going to attempt to rebound this morning. It dumped really hard all the way down to 302 already, but we're going to be looking for a rebound attempt. If we hold above 312, we could technically get very close to like 318 again, very close to our 20 EMA. There might be a small push, but we'll have to see if Tesla gets a rejection or not as we are making lower highs. So look for a push upon opening. We'll see if we get a rejection or not, very close to about the 316 to 318 area. And if we do get a rejection, we'll be watching this 311 area. If we lose that, we could be dipping all the way down to these much lower levels, such as the 307 area. So look for an attempt to push higher. We'll see if we get a rejection to make a lower high and start dipping lower. Keep that in mind. As far as SPY goes, this is very flat right now. It's actually on a bit of a downtrend. We're going to be looking at some key support right here. So let's just ignore all the lines and just look at this support. The yellow line you see is our support, the 589 to 590 area. SPY pumped a bit only to dip back down. So we'll have to see if 589 to 590 holds. If it does not hold, this could be dipping all the way down towards 588 and then 585. If we do hold 590, we could attempt to rebound to fill this gap back up to 592. So right now it looks very weak after Jerome Powell's speech yesterday. So we'll have to see if we can hold 590. That's a big test on SPY as well. ES is on a bit of a downtrend, looks bearish right now. We have to see if we can reclaim 5950 to 5960, that range right there, especially near our 50 EMA. Otherwise, it just kind of pushed a bit. Now there is a risk of it coming down closer to about 5930. So give this the time it needs. For Nvda, we're kind of dipping here. We might be on our way down to about 144. We'll see if we bounce off that or not, but I do see some downside potential. For Bitcoin, we're attempting to rebound testing 90,000. We'll have to see if we make a lower high. So we had a high here, came down, but a lower high came down. We could be making another lower high before we start dipping back down again to about the 88,000 range. So we'll see if 90,000 holds or not. Otherwise, we could be dipping lower. QQQ, same thing. The NQ basically could be dipping closer to about this imbalance over here. If we don't reclaim 21,000, we could be dipping to about 20,600. So it might be a small dip on NQ. QQQ looks more bearish. We're looking at 503. We have to hold that. Otherwise, we're at risk of coming all the way down to about 501. Previous resistance will be tested around 500. It looks more bearish. Apple, let me just go over a few more. Apple might be testing 225. We'll have to see if it bounces off that or not. Look for a little bit more downside for 225 flat. IWM is just consolidating near 231 R50 EMA. If we lose 230, I think we come down to fill the gap to 226. If we hold this, we could attempt to rebound for 234. So watch and see if 230 holds. A few more. We have coin, a little bit weaker. We'll have to see if 285 holds or not. Otherwise, we could be dipping lower, back down to about 275. Amazon looking a little bit more bearish. We could be dipping back down to about 207 or so. So give that some more time to develop. For Meta, we look a little bit more bearish. We could be dipping closer to about the 570, 569 area. So be very mindful of that. For Microsoft, we could be dipping closer to about 421-ish or below. And then Google could also be dipping closer to about 175 before it tries to bounce. So, anyways, I have to make this video kind of short because I think I'm running a little bit low on time. So, I thank you all so much for listening. Tesla is going to outperform the market just to start things off. We did dump really hard already during the pre-market, but now it's getting bought back up after this news came out about the new the new faster charging cabinets. So we might attempt to push higher on Tesla. We'll have to be watching that 315 resistance, and then if we could make our way up to about 318. But then don't forget Tesla is making lower highs, so it is possible we kind of make a lower high, then we just continue to reject and make our way back down to these supports. So I'll be watching our main supports basically at like 311 is going to be the first one. If that fails us, I see us potentially dipping to about 308. And then if that fails us, there is a risk of us dipping even lower, closer to these lower levels, such as like 305 and then the low of the day all over again. All right. So look for a push on Tesla. We'll see we'll see if we get a rejection to make a lower high or not. Thank you all so much for listening. I'll see you guys very soon in my next video. Oh, and one more thing I just wanted to mention. The VIX, I think is very important to note. We're actually finally getting a bounce here. So because the VIX is holding the support, we have to see if we can break past 15. If that's the case, the VIX could be looking for a temporary breakout, which could be bearish for the markets. So as of right now, the market's looking more bearish. Tesla's going to attempt to rebound, but it could reject. So we'll see how that ends up going. All right. So make sure you watch your levels very closely. We'll see what the data causes. Tesla's going to try to outperform the market for now, but then we'll see if we get that rejection, and then we'll see how things end up going. All right. I'll be back hopefully in just a couple of hours. In about like 2 hours from now, I should be back for another update. So get ready for this big test that's about to be starting once we get this data released in just a couple of minutes, and we'll see how things end up going. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. I'll be back in a few hours, and peace out.